Disclaimer: all of the equipment by Moza Racing in this video was sent to me by Moza Racing for testing and review. However, this has no effect on my opinion or what I say in this review. I do not receive money from Moza, nor does Moza have any influence on what is shown or discussed in this video. My opinions, thoughts and findings are my own. With that out of the way, enjoy the video.
We have reviewed the R5. We have reviewed the R9. We have reviewed the R16. But there is one wheelbase that has eluded us and has flown quietly under the radar. This is a wheelbase that needs no introduction. A combination of flair and dedicated engineering is what created this wheelbase. This is a wheelbase that demands respect, and if you don't show it respect, it'll damn well pull your thumb out. This is the flagship of Moza, and today we have finally gotten our hands on it. This is the Moza R21. There is no beating about the bush. The R21 is gorgeous to look at. The sleek, black, glossy finish of the side pods mixed with the anodized gold finish of the wheel mount gives off the look like it should belong in a high-end jewelry shop. But then to top it all off, around the wheelbase they've given it flecks of that Braun GP green, and thus gives it a sporting look. But you didn't click on this video just to see how good looking it is. This is a serious bit of kit. Now, the R21 has been on the market for a while now, and was released alongside the R16, and it packed everything that you could want: power, performance, and style. And yet, nobody bought one. The R21 had all of these things going for it, but nobody seemed interested in it, which is very strange, considering that this is the flagship model of Moza. Now, I do have a couple of theories as to why the R21 flopped a bit. Chief among which, the R21 was released alongside the R16, which was when they were first coming into the market. And if we remember, Moza didn't start out the best, so people might have been a little bit turned off by that. Now, it being a brand new company to the sim racing market back then, people back then would have went, no, I am not spending 1,100 euros on a product that hasn't been tested or even talked about at all. Who is going to go, I don't want a Fanatec or a Simucube, or I want something totally unproven? But now that Moza has been on the market for the best part of a year now, is the R21 worth your time and money? Well, let's find out. Following the tradition of the way Moza names its wheelbases, the R21 has 21 Newton meters of torque, which is a lot, and is 1 Newton meter stronger than Fanatec's DD1. So there is definitely enough power for people who want to do 100% force feedback challenges and rip their own arms off. Like all of the other Moza wheelbases as well, you get that amazing quick release. And to this day, I still stand by what I say. This quick release and wheel mounting system is the best on the market. It is a simple push, snap on, and then it is solid. You don't have to fiddle around with an Allen key. Like the R16, on the side you get the mounting holes for the RM dash display, though I will say, please don't buy the RM dashboard. The motor inside and the data reading system is able to pick up 260,000 points of resolution, which is mind-blowing. And the price of the R21 is £1,100. Near enough the exact same price as the Fanatec DD1, but you get a little bit more power. Now, don't be fooled into thinking that this is just an R16 with a few extra Newton meters of torque added into the mix. While it does share the same motor, it isn't as simple as just turning the gain all the way up. The software that powers this wheelbase plays a big role in keeping all of that power under control. While testing the R21 and the R16 back-to-back in iRacing, there is a subtle but noticeable difference between the two. For example, going over some rumble strips, in the R16 you feel it perfectly fine, all of the detail is there. But when I used the R21, it was much more violent, and the detail just felt that little bit sharper. But when it comes to the software of the R21, there is a slight issue that I have found. The thing that I really don't like about the R21 is the first time use of an R21. And this is a very small point, but when it comes to plugging in a Fanatec or a Simucube or anything like that, there is always a good baseline setup for the wheelbase so that you can like tweak the settings around that, you know, and get it to feeling like how you want it to feel. With the R21, it does have that, but it is shockingly bad. The baseline setup of the R21 is really bad. And when I first plugged it in to test it out on iRacing on the BMW LMDH around Daytona, I thought either the car was really bad or it was my skill. And then when I looked into the Moza Pithouse settings, it dawned on me that everything was turned up to 10. It felt like I was driving through fossilized soup. However, that being said, it isn't that difficult to set this thing up. It's just if you plug it in and don't touch any of the settings, you're going to get a nasty shock. Which is why if you buy one of these things, or if you are an owner of one of these R21s, then in the description, I have put my R21 settings in the description for you guys, so you can use that as a baseline to tweak from there. And it is just how I personally prefer using this wheelbase. Despite the fact that this wheelbase didn't sell very well, Moza have made the brave decision to do a re-release of the R21. And this is a good thing, because this is, without a doubt, Moza's best wheelbase. And sometimes the work that you feel like is your best gets unnoticed by the masses, which is why it is worth a little nudge here and there, and that is what Moza are doing by re-releasing the R21 to the masses. All steering wheels and rims within the Moza ecosystem work with the R21, with exception of the ES wheel. I am unsure though about the ES wheel working with this wheelbase, but if it does work with this wheelbase, I strongly recommend you don't use that rim on this wheelbase, as with the small radius and the high power could be potentially dangerous. However, if you do ignore this advice, the Moza Pithouse software has the hands-off protection option, and you can also buy a stop button. The R21 is excellent. There is no ifs or buts about it. But, as you know with these reviews, there are some issues that I do need to outline. My biggest issue with this wheelbase is the consistency in the force feedback between different sim racing titles. Now, where the R21 really excels at is in iRacing and BeamNG Drive. The detail that I can feel through my fingers in these sims is electrifying. Now, a lot of what I'm about to say has a lot to do with how you set the wheelbase up and the settings that you use in-game, because naturally, going between two different sims, you're going to have a different setup for each one. But when it comes to Assetto Corsa, while the detail is just sublime and excellent and I absolutely love it, the force feedback between iRacing and Assetto Corsa is a little bit different. There is a little bit of a numbness or lack of detail. It is very difficult for me to explain this and not make it sound bad. I should point out that it is nowhere near as inconsistent as a SimuCube. Trying to get a SimuCube to work well in Assetto Corsa Competizione is like trying to wire a plug while wearing boxing gloves. What Moza need to do with their software is just do some more finer tweaking. Another thing that I don't like is the screws that the wheelbase comes with. They are very short and very weak. They can thread very easily, but when mounting it to my rig, the screws aren't long enough to go through the piece of metal to attach it to the rig. So I have had to use third-party screws in order to mount this. But there is one more thing that really irks me about the R21. Now for me, this is very sad news. Moza has always been rather quirky and wacky, especially when it came to the R16 and 21. You could get a wheelbase in bright orange. Now, I admit I am in the minority when it comes to the orange paint because I genuinely loved it. It looked so out there and I just fell in love with it. But sadly, for the R16 and the R21, the orange paint scheme for the wheelbase has been discontinued. You can no longer get a wheelbase in bright orange. Now, to the majority of you guys watching, you're not going to be bothered by this, you much prefer the black one, and that's totally fine. But for me, this is tragic news. The way that Moza went about making this wheelbase, especially in orange paint, separated it from the rest of the sim racing market. It was unique, it had character. You go to anybody and try and describe a wheelbase by, it's sleek and black. That describes pretty much 95% of all wheelbases. But you go to anybody and say, it was that orange wheelbase. It was Moza. So if you are an owner of an R16 or 21 in orange, I can probably wager that the value of those is going up now, because it's just not available anymore. And I can easily see it becoming a collector's item. And before you ask in the comment section, no, you cannot have mine. You could say now that it's a rare breed. In the past year, Moza has come a long way, and I think them releasing the R21 again was a great idea, because while Moza has let a few things go, like the RSV1 for example, they've moved on from that. it is good that they're holding on to a few things, and this is a great example of something that was great but got overlooked. The R21 is exceptional. I love this thing. I genuinely thought when I first received the R21, it was just going to be an R16 with a few more extra Newton meters of torque in it. And for a newcomer, it might actually seem that way. But if you keep scratching away at the surface level values, you will find that this thing is just so much more than that. So if you are one of the people that has got a bit extra cash to splash, you cannot ignore the R21. It is something very, very special. How special is it? Well, I'll say this. This is my new main wheelbase now. I haven't felt the need to go back to the R16 or the R9 or even back to my Fanatec ever since I plugged it in for the first time and got over the silly baseline setup and then immediately taking it on the Daytona 24 Hours. It didn't let me down once. I got everything that I needed from it, and I do genuinely believe it kept me from crashing into the wall. There is just so much detail I'm getting from this wheelbase. I love it. I absolutely love it. In conclusion, and it's fairly obvious at this point, I would 100% recommend the R21. While I am gutted about the orange paint going, it is just paint and doesn't impact the performance of this wheelbase whatsoever. Now, since some personnel at Moza is going to be watching this video, I do, as always, have some suggestions. We'll start off with the paint. Now, this isn't overly important, but because there's no orange anymore, I don't want Moza to lose their personality and what made them so unique, which is why I'm going to suggest custom paint jobs for the R16 and R21. So what people should be able to do is download a PDF file from the website so people can go into Photoshop or whatever software they want to use to make a custom design, and once they are ready with it, they can upload it to the website when they want to purchase their wheelbase. And in my mind, this has three big benefits. 1. Moza doesn't lose its identity about being quirky and mad. 2. It would mean the customer has complete control on how their wheelbase turns out. And 3. The idea of a custom wheelbase paint job would be greatly appealing to a lot of people. So that's what I think Moza should do for the R16 and 21. Allow people to upload their custom designs so they can have a custom R21 or R16. And yes, it could warrant charging a little bit extra. So instead of charging an extra £100 for orange paint like it used to be, you could charge an extra £100 for a complete custom design. Another thing that I think Moza really needs to make a push for is console compatibility. This is a subject that I keep on seeing getting repeated over and over again in comment sections, in Instagram replies, and even the comment section of my own videos. Now, what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that acquiring a license to work with PlayStation or Xbox is actually a very difficult thing to achieve. But I do think Moza should make a push to get all wheelbases compatible with all consoles. Anyway guys, if you have enjoyed this review, then please feel free to leave a like, and if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button with the notification bell. And once again, we are affiliated with Moza, so if you would like to buy the R21 or anything Moza related, then please do use my affiliate link down in the description below. And down in the description below, there is a link to our community Discord, where you guys can meet other sim racers and chat about sim racing mods and content and equipment. It's a nice, welcoming place for newcomers and experienced sim racers. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next review. Have a good night, everybody.